All right, everyone. I got Julian on here, and we are live. I'll make sure we got a live broadcast going. Let's see. Do we have live? It says live, and don't see a group yet, but I'm guessing we're live. So, yeah, if anyone can see us, just comment and let us know we're live. If you can hear us, got Julian here. Yeah, looks like we got it right there. Cool. I got it. Hey, Julian, where are you at right now? Are you at one of your properties, or where are you at?
Hey guys, what's going on? So this is actually I'm actually in Asheville, North Carolina, in a little it's called Oakley, the little subdivision called Oakley. So that's where I'm taking the call right now. It's a little bit less noise, more lit. So that's where I'm at.
Is that your house, or what are you at? Where you at?
Well, this is actually the lobby of an apartment complex nearby.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Okay, cool. No problem. All right, cool. Yeah, so just want to get started here. Would you just introduce yourself, kind of like tell a little bit about you and like kind of what your experience is in real estate investing and how you got into it?
Sounds good. So so guys, I started about 5 years ago in 2016. And I studied industrial and software engineering at the University of Florida. So go Gators for any of those that are out there. I'm originally from Colombia in South America and came here when I was 10. And since then, I was kind of researching all different avenues of opening businesses, looking at different kind of wealth avenues. And at some point, I was going to say, I need to start a business. Need to go some route to cross from kind of middle class into rich class at some point in my life, right? I didn't want to be stuck to the job. So as I started reading, I noticed that one of the biggest wealth accelerators was real estate. So I started looking at it and going farther into it. I got a radio commercial, as maybe some of you guys here on this call might have listened to Fortune Builders. And I thought that was very interesting. So then I went to their first session and kind of went through their process. And as I saw that the people were more transparent, more spontaneous, kind of wanted to help instead of just money per se, right? I know it's going to cost money at some point, as on any of those events were, but I definitely saw those systems helping me, and that were helping me. So as a lot of us took a plunge into maybe a big education ticket, and then it started to open my LLC. I started my business from there. So since then, I flipped my first property like 9 months after that. And that one specifically found it through one of my agents. And then from there, right now I'm on my I would just, as far as flips go, just my 9th property. So I've wholesaled some deals. I've become a general contractor, a real estate agent, and right now my business is kind of at a point where I was a little stuck on the well, I wouldn't say a little. I was stuck on actually being able to scale, and that's kind of where I came to Chad to see where. What are the gaps am I missing? What system am I missing? Where can I improve? So that's where we're at today.
So you were doing some deals. You were, working through the Fortune Builders. Great people, great program. A lot of really great real estate investors in there. But I guess there's a lot of sometimes there's some pitfalls or some challenges you run into that you just maybe don't know how to figure out. And they got a lot of good trainings and just so much information. Sometimes it's a little bit confusing and. But so like what was it specifically that you kind of like were having trouble with back then?
Yeah, so one of the things I noticed is that I started seeing a lot of people there's so much information to go through. So you get kind of analysis paralysis of where do I go, right? Do I go to multifamily? Do I go to commercial? Do I go rehabbing? Do I do rentals? There's so much stuff and not only that, as far as marketing, as getting your leads, there's so much stuff you can do. So depending on your marketing budget, all you're doing is a lot of trial and error, right? And as many of you guys have found out, you spend a lot of money and you start getting people, cussing you out. You get unqualified leads. You go to a house and you spend a bunch of time just with a seller that's not really motivated, things like that. So as I started going through, I started figuring out I gotta focus on one thing. And one thing was, how do I create like a liquid income stream through either rentals, through wholesaling, through investing, that would provide me money quicker, and then also provide a system that will provide me the bigger chunks of money, which would be, like flipping, new construction, development, things like that. So that's where I needed a constant flow of leads to get me there, so I can kind of filter them out, take advantage of each of them.
So you mentioned analysis paralysis, and that's one of the things I hear. It seems like a lot of people everyone probably has issues with that, but I think even more so, maybe the folks who have the engineering or analytical mind, like the mechanically minded or even data driven, like people who are, attorneys or accountants or programmers, software programmers, architects, the people who are detail oriented. A lot of times they want to perfect every detail. And I kind of understand this, but you probably have more of that personality. I have somewhat of it, but I think you probably have it. You're probably like more like set in that personality than I am. Like what do you, have you found some ways to kind of remove that issue out of the way so it's not holding you back sometimes, like overanalyzing things? Like, what have you done to really help you to avoid getting stuck?
Well, one of the ways I avoid, getting stuck is getting coaching, getting help, getting some feedback of people that have done it. So, bounce ideas of people that have done bigger things to kind of not overanalyze a lot of stuff. But one of the things that really helps me is that I've kind of prevented myself from doing that is looking at feedback from people above, so that I can get a process that works and not try to make it or remake it. And just actually one of the biggest quotes that has helped me out since I started my business is, take imperfect action, right? Don't wait for everything to be perfect. So that has helped out tremendously, right? So if I can take action in and hopefully control my risk at that time, is a lot better than trying to analyze every single variable and then take action at the end, because you might lose the deal by that time. So that's where I have definitely learned there.
Cool. And thanks for filling us in and sharing that. I know one of the things we talked about and talked through at one point was, like kind of like delegating and kind of not overthinking the process of delegating, just to do it, and let go of some of the responsibilities that you feel like you control the details of so well that someone else might not. How big of a challenge was that for you to do?
Yeah, that one has definitely been a challenge, because as when you start, right, depending on how much cash you have and things like that, every little decision might cost you money or go over budget, or maybe a mistake somebody does will just cost you heartache, right? So that was always difficult for me, especially at the beginning, to make sure that when I do delegate, I have a good system to follow, right? Before, it was kind of like, well, if I don't know fully every detail, that's going to be tough to delegate. So as I've gone through and really understood, hey, as far as how do you buy a property, how you do deal with attorneys, real estate agents, all contractors, permits, all that stuff, and kind of documented a lot of that process, not to the extent that it's perfect, but to the extent that somebody can go in there and navigate and ask the right questions. That's when I have felt comfortable to pass that on to somebody else, and also, for example, give my contractors the ability to purchase and things like that, and have checks, so that hopefully you don't get screwed over in the end by making that delegation, right?
Yeah, I think part of it is, making sure you're working with smart people, and then allowing them to figure out some of the things. If there is a gap, have them, I'm hoping, make sure you have someone smart enough to kind of figure out what to do when they don't have all the information. And also, give them a system or, set up a process where you can help fill in the gaps if they need the help. But, if you can get 75, 80% of it in front of them and they're missing something, I think they can figure it out a lot of times, right?
Yeah, I think one of the keys that I have found out in general when when you're hiring new subs or hiring a new property management or anything like that is have the right contracts and vetting processes in place. If you have that, you just prevent yourself from a lot of headaches, right? Before I might find a contractor and they seem friendly and it's like, hey, how's it going? Stuff like that. I can do the work for you. They text you a price and you're like, yeah, this guy seems awesome, and go, right? And then, as you guys might know, the job is still the money and to make you look bad, whatever, right? As versus now later on, every contractor has to go through a process of, reference, get all the documents in place, and they are very, they're more serious of what they're getting into. If something goes wrong, there's a consequence for them, right? Not just for me, just giving them money. So that has been very, very, and also with tenants, right? With tenants, you have the whole process of background checks and talking to them and meeting them and all this stuff, so that when you actually sign a contract, you are 80%, you have control, like hopefully 80% or more of anything that could happen. And if something does happen, it doesn't kill you,
So kind of limiting the risk, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, kind of going backward a little bit, talking about, what you were focusing on and, kind of the things did you ever have any situations that were frustrating in the past in your real estate investing business that were, causing any stress?
Gosh, one of the things that cause stress is that I would tell people watching is, a lot of times, especially when you're getting started or actually probably anytime along the way, is you see an opportunity that looks absolutely incredible, right? And the data says it's good. Your agent is like pressuring you is good. So, but something in your intuition says something's going to go wrong, right? Something's going to go wrong, right? So that was happening in a condo I bought over here. Everything looks great. The agent is like, oh my gosh, this looks amazing. I checked the house. The inspection was all good and everything. Then we got into it, and that feeling always came true, right? So, a hurricane, right? Like a hurricane was passing by North Carolina. So now I couldn't get different materials. I couldn't sell it at that time. Like nobody was actually getting showings. Nobody was coming out. The next thing that happened, the agent overlooked that, and I don't think he even looked. That there was double taxes on that property, not only city taxes but town taxes. So that almost like more than double the tax liability. So now it's, I was in a point where I'm like, crap. I knew it's like I felt it, but everything looks so good. So then I had to adjust and do things different. So I would always say that feeling is almost very, becomes very true. Sometimes, obviously, you don't have to believe it every single time, but just watch out for it, be conscious for it. And the next thing is,
So hold on, man. Do you think that feeling was emotion getting in your way? That was not, you weren't following and trusting the data, or do you think that was like something that was maybe your subconscious saw that was a problem you didn't catch? I mean, which one was it? Was it real or was it fake?
Sometimes, well, that's where I've kind of gone back and said, when I went back, I was convincing myself that it was a good opportunity in every single way because I wanted a deal.
Okay.
I was convincing myself. So in convincing myself and that everything looked good, I would say my agent overlooked, but at the same time, that liability falls on me as well. I didn't ask that question because I didn't even know that you could get double taxed, right? So then, because of wanting that deal, I just went through with it, but I felt that I was missing something. Like I felt that, not about buying it or nothing. I was just like, it'd be awesome to buy it, but then if I would have bought it, I did buy it. Yeah, if I would have bought it, so if I would have not overlooked that, I would have not made that type of offer, right? Which was higher, and then puts you in a challenging position later, right? That's what I'm saying, right? Especially in North Carolina, it's a buyer beware state, so you just gotta make sure you go through all of that. And then one of the other examples I wanted to put out, one of the things that happened in another rehab was the I believe the square footage was like 1,800 square feet, something like that. So my agent and I we looked at comparables and stuff like that, and let's just say the price came out at like 200,000, right? And we're like, analyze our numbers. We made an offer. We were competing a bunch with the other person and stuff like that. Well, I bought the property, and later on, we figure out both of us that the listing agent has misrepresented the square footage on the property by about 300 square feet. So it was kind of those things where you're like, you want a deal, and that is one of the points where you kind of trust somebody to get right and not miss by that much. So we went into a process of appealing it and stuff like that. But at the same point, if you go to court, they're also going to bring up the point, hey, it's a buyer due diligence. So you're almost going to cut it. And, the other thing, they're going to put it's going to be like pending attorney litigation and things like that on the property. So buyers might not buy it. So it's kind of one of those things where I've become very kind of made systems around that. So like, taking home inspection courses, or really taking your tape measure all the time and like really measure it out, making sure you got the right heated square footage, making sure you have the right taxes, right acreage, things like that. So that, and at the end of the day, right, buying it at the right price. It just comes down to all that information and buying it at the right price.
Yeah. So I guess another question I have, or comment maybe around that. Now, was that the condo again that had the square footage issue as well, or is that a different property?
No, that was a different property, just kind of two different things. Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the things that it makes me think of, and I think what you're leading into there, kind of what you're describing is this thing that a lot of new real estate investors get into of like, I just got to get a deal. Like I just need to do a deal to do a deal. Sometimes that can be a fatal flaw. It can really be a bad thing if you're so excited just to do a deal that you think everything's a deal, and you're looking at stuff, not really worrying about maybe, or like what we do is we like exaggerate the numbers on our own just to make it a deal. Like we might undervalue the repairs or overvalue the property in a way of saying this is worth more than what it really is. Like reality and our imagination are in two different places. And is that kind of what it is, Julian? I mean, you probably met a lot of people that way too. Brand new, want to do a deal so bad they do a bad deal and then lose money.
Yeah, 100%. I always say that initially when you start, you in order to make a deal happen, you don't give enough repair money to yourself. I've seen that countless times, and obviously I'm always watching for that all the time. I'm giving myself more buffers, especially now. I don't know, everywhere else in the country is probably similar, but here the material prices are coming down, but are up the roof, right? So if you don't give enough repair money, you can't. Not only you're buying a little bit higher now because there's so much demand with the market, but now that you didn't give enough, it's like really tough, because then now you have to like downgrade, from like drywall to a suspended ceiling, or wood to carpet, and things like that. So you don't get to where you need to be. So I always make sure you definitely buy right. And if you don't buy right, just make sure you have enough money, like oops money, that you can finish it,
And by oops money, I mean, are you talking about maybe in your bank account, or are you talking about in the repair budget that you've bought it deep enough so you're covering up for any miscellaneous problems you might run into?
Yeah, I would say the repair, the miscellaneous amount in your repair budget, right? Like, I have a property right now, environmental health was like, hey, get a septic inspection, and all we need to do is just stamp it for a 4-bedroom if it has enough capacity. Well, I get into it, and they're like, no, now you can't do it. Now we need a soil test, we need a septic design, and just have the drain field. So that became like a $500 to probably like a $4,000 thing that I still need to do because I need a 4-bedroom. But if you you didn't give yourself enough money, that's going to put you in a place where you're just struggling. And
So the really the key lesson to learn there is to buy right. You make your money when you buy it, right? Because if you pay too much, then you're better off losing the deal than paying too much and then owning the I guess the oversight, you know, the mistakes in the budget, right? Having to do it anyway and losing out.
yeah, so how I analyze my deals now is in order to be able to refinance, you got to be at least 75% loan to value.
Mhm.
So always make sure that whatever happens, you're almost under that value. So you have an exit strategy. And I learned that very well during COVID, because if I haven't done that during that time, you're stuck. Like you can't do anything with it. So that was a good learning lesson there, to always make sure, you know, we always say, hey, ARV times 70% minus, but sometimes we buy a deal just to get a deal that it's above that threshold. And then we just found out later that we're stuck, you know?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And with your business, like, you know, and kind of moving forward, like, do you remember how you first we first met, or how you first got acquainted with me?
Yeah, so I met Chad actually. Well, I saw Chad a lot of the times in the Fortune Builder group, posting different things. He wasn't as active when I first joined, but then we met at one of the Fortune Builders events in December, one of the biggest events, and that's kind of when I what'd you say?
Was that in Vegas?
Yeah, in Vegas. Yeah. So we met at Ignite.
Remember?
What'd you say?
Know what year that was?
That was the second year. That was the second year. So that was probably in 2017. That was in 2017. We met there, and I was just kind of saying, I got my first deal and stuff like that. It's like, man, I want to be just kind of networking a little bit with the bigger guys, just kind of absorb a little bit of that knowledge and really see what they're doing, right? So then, you know, I know I met Chad in that event, and then went to ride with like the supercars there, with some of the guys that are doing very large deals there, you know. So
You riding with Adam?
yeah, I went with Adam and Indar, you.
Or with Adam, or?
I rode with Adam, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Because I was like, man, I don't know if this guy knows what he's getting into getting in that car.
Exactly. Yeah. So we rode the McLaren.
Fearless.
Yeah, we rode the McLarens together and stuff like that. So that was really cool. So
now, was that the year we had like 16 cars, or was it? Because I remember we've done that several years. I was
no,
like,
I think we did like 6 to 8 cars, something like that.
Okay, one year we had like 16 cars. It might have been the year before.
That was the year before that. Okay. That's when I saw it, and I was like, oh gosh, I need to do that.
And the next year it got smaller, which I was actually happy, because it was unsafe. Like the year before, we had 16 cars out there on the highways, and we about had several of us getting a wreck, but we all made it back okay. Nobody damaged the cars or got hurt. So, but the next year I was like, I didn't know if I even wanted to go, because of the year before scared me so much. But it was fun though. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to have to wreck those cars. The way they scan it and make you sign all the forms and stuff, you're like, you don't want to touch that car.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. So so we met at Ignite at one of the events in Vegas, and so what was it that really kind of piqued your interest about working with me and having me help you out with your real estate investing business?
Yeah. So, you know, what I started noticing is that it's like I could do the construction part, I could sell, you know, I could talk to sellers and stuff like that, but I'm like, how the heck? Like, I was always getting from deal to another deal, and I was like, at some point, if I want to leave my job, I need to have like a system that helps me continue that, not just like get in a deal and then hope for the next deal. I was very lucky in that sense, where I was able to kind of go from a pocket listing to like a referral to a wholesale, and then go like that, and I was able to do that. But I needed my own leads, right? Buy cheaper, you know, really talk to sellers, be able to negotiate that better. So I started looking into different programs, and I know one year I talked to Chad about it, and I was just getting into a rehab. And as as some of you guys know, is, you know, you might have your first lien covered you might have your second lien covered, but still you have to have money yourself to be able to run the projects quickly, right? Like right now, in a project I have going on, I have the gap funding, first lien covered, everything's covered, but it's such a pain to get inspections from the first lien holder like quickly sometimes that in order for me to move quicker, I needed my own money. So I was kind of in that scenario. So I'm like, man, I really want to join, but it's kind of like, if I need that money, then I'm going to be kind of stuck, you know? So I was a little hesitant there. So the next year passed by and I started, doing more. And I was like, there's no way, you know? And actually Chad's price increase, it went double, but I told him, hey, I literally did not feel comfortable right now because I'd rather finish this well, right? And that's also another lesson I found throughout the way. I'm a person that I like to do a lot of stuff, right? And as you get into entrepreneurship and stuff, you have to cut it down and focus and be really good, right? So that's, even with the price tag and stuff like that, thankfully God kind of gave me the resources as I went through it. I'm like, this is the time to do it, meet new people, see how to scale. I need better systems because, even though that I'm a programmer myself, and I've done a lot of pretty cool things, I can't keep doing it. I need a better system to be able to delegate and go like that, right? So that's where out of the other ones I just saw different things like, this person sends you an email that just kind of looks sketchy. It's like, do they really have a good program? And then the other system, they pitch out, just do everything. Right? So in my mind, I'm like, well, if they do everything for me, then I'm dependent on them, right? I mean, they can charge me anything, really, at any point, right? So I started about that, and I was like, I was thinking, I do need somebody, hopefully get somebody to take my marketing, but I need to have a sense of what the heck I'm doing or they're doing so that I can decide what's better or not, right? So then that, I had Chad going on all the time, but I didn't have to look him up that much because I already knew him, I already knew his business and stuff like that. So that's where I was like, I reached out to Chad, started asking some questions and stuff like that, and took the plunge on, hey, it's almost an experience of let's cut back, let's go back in time and relearn the basics. And if some of you guys know, if you've done maybe professional sports or anything professional, at some point you come back and you're like, man, you learned the wrong habit, and you kind of come back, relearn the habit and go slower so that you can scale up. So that's what's happening. That's what's happening for me, 100 times over, a lot of times we get into it and we're like, I just want the deals. And then you get into it. And then the thing that happens at the end of the year is now your accounting is just so destroyed. So that becomes a headache as well. You have to do it. Or then you how you manage your money and your contracts, it becomes a mess. So you have to kind of come back and say, hey, how do I build it in a way that just it's seamless and you can take on more deals than just 1, 2, and then go like that, right? So
yeah, good. Thanks for sharing that. What results have you seen so far, kind of working through the process of really going back to the basics and, kind of trying to unlearn some of the habits and solidify your foundation?
Yeah. So for me, I have, it's almost always about thinking bigger than what you're doing, right? So thinking bigger might be, hey, contractor calls you, hey, I need 2x4s. That's not my job. Figure out a way not to do that, right? The next thing was taking a bunch of random calls from sellers and things like that. It's that's another thing. Don't do that because when they talk to you the first time, they're not, they don't know. They have to go through a process of warming up, and then you as the owner, the decision maker, get them last, right? The other thing is 100% learn how to do funnels in general in everything in your life, right? So that has become so successful. I even told the group here, I sold a car just making a random funnel, my girlfriend's car, and it was an awesome experience, right? Because when you start learning that you have to just give them some information, some value for nothing, right? You get their information and then you kind of start warming them up, and then it's like a nice spontaneous process. It's not like when you go to a car lot and they're just pushing you all the time. It's trying to do that. So that has been good. And then as far as just having a network to bounce ideas, as far as how do I manage contractors? How do I pay them? Just kind of things like that. How do I hire new people? What do I pay them? What documents do I need to put together? So, the system that Chad has put in place, obviously it's in a now grand scale. And the funny part is, as an engineer, I see that so clearly, it like speaks to me on how to, okay, now get this process, then put another process around it, automate it, boom, put that, automate it, gone, this, gone, right? And then as you start doing that, you can finally get rid, kind of remove yourself from all that stuff, right? So that's where my challenge has been now. It's like with my contractors, my team is removing it. Let's start removing myself. I don't need to be there. You don't need to call me all the time. I don't need to give materials. Like give them power. Give them power in a way where you're still comfortable, but there is safeguards around it. Like for example, I got him a card, but that card I can limit their spending, right? And also which purchases they make. Like do they make at Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever, right? Which has been really cool. So then now you test them. Hey, are they buying like a random Gatorade snacks? If they are, then hey, you have to have that conversation or just take that away and then go from there. But overall, if you have the right team and they're loyal and they're cool, they're good to you. I think they've done that like 2 times now, where I told them, hey, do not do that again. They stopped doing that. Gave me all the receipts, scan them in all the time. We got a person now that runs materials, so I don't have to do that. So since then, actually, since our last conversation there, I haven't been able to be in the group too much because there's so much things going on in my life right now. But man, I mean, my business is like finally starting to just see fruits. I'm getting a building project here, another one here, like a renovation I just started. I got 2 leads from from a website that you learn in the course, that the person's like nice and warm. They didn't ask any questions. They're just kind of waiting for some information. And actually being more experienced allows you not to be desperate. You just say, hey, I do not, the demand for construction is so big that I'm like, I don't need the house. Like I would like to help you, but I just don't need it. Right. So let's just figure out how to get you squared away in a way that makes us both good. Right. So I'm dealing with a seller right now, like that. And we'll see how that goes from the first lead there from the new website. But yeah, it's going great. It's just like more credibility. You come from an angle where you just don't have to be desperate. And that's always, I feel like a lot of real estate investors are always going to sellers like that. And you're always getting insulted. You're always, just getting always price, things like that. And I'm like, just like what Chad was saying in some of his things, I do not like to be in that position, like just hassling people all the time.
Well, you're in a position now where you don't feel like you have to like get the deal, and you're like positioning yourself in a way that with that seller that you don't come across as desperate. And when you come across as confident and you aren't needy, then they are the one that has to go in that other space where they're the ones that need the help. They need to come clean and really be, earn your business. Really, they need to step up and share the information you need to know to be able to help them out if they need help. And if not, you can just move on. And when you tell them you're willing to walk away because, it's potentially not a good fit, then they gotta do something. They either need to accept that or they need to step up and ask for help.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's just especially in like the contracting business and stuff. It's when people start knowing your product, like it's like the pipe opens up and the water just starts flowing in your direction, right? So same thing that we're trying to figure out in business here as well is how to show that value so people start coming to you instead of you always hassling so many people just to get one deal. Which a lot of investors do. We buy houses bandit signs all the time. So I always hear people is like, oh guys, this other sign, or they get out of the car and they tear it apart. I've had those situations happen. I was like, I don't want to be that type of investor. I want to be the type of investor where you have, like, when you guys see like construction firms out in the road, they make like a sweet building, right? And you're like, guys, that looks expensive, but that looks awesome. So it's how do I do that?
Yeah. So earlier you mentioned too that you got a couple of new leads and you're working on one. You're gonna kind of see how it goes. But the process there, you kind of follow the process in the course, right? To set up your website, then get it ranked on Google, going through some of the steps. Like, how did you feel that process went? Like, was that fairly straightforward, or did you have any trouble with that, or kind of like how did that go?
You mean like setting up the website
Yeah,
from the
getting
beginning?
that going so you have the leads coming now.
Yeah, no, that process is pretty, as I said before, like, unfortunately, the way you start with, with other education and stuff like that, you just don't know what you're doing, right? So now when you just pay for things, and then, you hope that it works, but, with the new website and stuff like that, you can see it, that you're like, okay, now it makes sense. Like when you walk through it, it's like, okay, it's not just enter your information here and be done with it. It's almost like, hey, how do we help people? How do we make money in real estate? And then you warm up, and then also, putting your what's it called? Putting your keywords on there so that you rank on Google. Like, what are people looking for? And kind of learning about that. It's not just putting it out there and just hoping for the best. It's almost, what's going on.
I don't know. You know what each like piece of it you should have done before maybe is, and like why it's important and what makes it work.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't know if starting out I think you'd be flooded with information, to be honest. Like, you have to have a sense of, like, at least doing something before you can absorb that information. But now, as you know more stuff, you quickly realize that, man, if you would have started that way, you would have started with having a different, like a call center taking your calls, or different things automated. You would spend less time doing it, but it's almost like you have to go through the pain, like a little bit of the pain of that, to really realize the value they can bring to you.
Well, yeah, I see that a lot with the newer investors that haven't yet, like maybe you think back to maybe when you first got started, I don't know, was it 2016 or 2015 or what year was it?
Yeah, 2016.
You probably got in like I did, and you thought, well, shoot, man. Well, I was kind of like questioning a lot of things, just trying to understand the business. But I think a lot of investors get in and they're just drinking the Kool-Aid and like, oh, it's going to be great. We're going to get rich. We're going to make a lot of money, and this is going to be awesome. Real estate is the best thing out there, and like, let's just go and do it. And they just jump deep into the pool and don't know how to swim. And then, but like you said, when you're in that place and everything's beautiful and you got your rose-colored glasses on and you're drinking, the drinks taste good, and you're like, oh man, this is going to be great. You don't need anything. You don't know what you need. You don't know where you're gonna, have problems, and so you just think it's all gonna be easy. And then I think, like what you're saying, you kind of don't know yet what you don't know. Like, you don't know what challenges you'll face. So a lot of newer investors I talk to, they think, oh man, I got this. I'm good. But when I talk to someone like you who's been at it a couple of years and you've done a few deals, maybe you skinned your knees a few times, you realize, oh shoot, man, this area of my business needs some help, and it's not as easy to get these deals I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought I'd just go out and get a real estate agent. They're going to bring me I think that's what a lot of people think, is you just go get a real estate agent. They've got all the houses. I don't need to, worry about any inventory, because they're just going to give me the deals, and nobody wants these stinky, ugly houses. Right. But then we get into it and realize, well, there's a lot of people that want them. And if you're going about them and getting these properties off the market where there's competition, then the deals don't make sense. There's numbers don't make sense, and sellers don't want to sell it because the agents are telling them not to, for the right price that you need. So, but is that kind of like along the lines of what you were talking about there?
Yeah, it's kind of like, if I see the process when you first start, and let's say you pay into education, the only thing you think about is, I'm going to do whatever because I need some money, and then you're like, okay, you see the potential. There's some potential there, but then you do a deal, right? You ski, like you said, you skin your knees and stuff, and you're like, somebody told me this once that was I felt like it was a lot of wisdom is, hey, figure out how to get into the right lane and stay there, right? So in figuring that out, you need people that are above you to kind of say, hey, wholesaling, you make this, but then you have to make this much sacrifices. Flipping, you make that, and that's the consequence of doing that. Things like that. And different people have different lifestyles and different assets. So it's like, how do you get into that right lane and really focus on making that well before moving into something else, instead of just taking, like, it's good to make maybe $4,000, right? $300, this and that. But then as you start thinking, you're like you're not gonna get rich that way, right? The only way is to get, like, to really focus on one area and then build that foundation to get to scale and then keep going up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Something you said there that sparked my my mind a little bit, but I it slipped my head already. But you know, as far as oh, I know what it was. So you talked a little bit about this earlier, and I wanted to circle back on it. You brought it up again just now, I think. But like, so you said stay in your lane, and earlier you talked about how not taking calls. And that's one thing. I mean, there's so many things I wanted to mention or comment on, but I'll try to keep it simple. So the things I realized early on in my business, and I've been I started my first business almost 20 years ago, and I quit my last job in 2003. So I've been practicing refining systems and improving processes in my business for a long time. And so that's, I think, why when I got into real estate, I came at it a little bit differently than a lot of people do, because I had some past experience that I could apply. But when it comes to that, like I started, I guess, understanding the number of roles there were in the real estate business when I was just me and maybe an assistant doing everything. Kind of like maybe, I mean, you're there now, but you have maybe a few contractors and other people. I don't know where you're at exactly with your team yet, but I know you have yourself, and then you have your contracting crews. But beyond that, it's pretty much you, right? Running the office, like the real estate office, like actual team. Because your contractors, yeah, they're part of your team, but they're outside, right? It's like your attorney or your title company. They are a contractor. It's not like an employee or someone you're unless you're on your job site, someone that you're actually working with to find more deals every day, right?
Right.
So what I noticed was that every time I had success in one area, you start out and there's this like path you have to go down, because you get started and you're like, well, I don't have anything, so I need to get some leads. And then once you have some leads, you're like, oh shoot, I got to answer the phones. And then when you start answering the phones, you're like, well, that takes a lot of time. And it kind of, for me, it kind of messed with my head in a way that, like, I hear someone on the other end of some of the marketing, I did back then was, a lot of direct mail as well as other things. But sometimes people aren't real happy that you've marketed to them, and they call and they're just, hey, they're just not real pleasant. And you talk to them, and then you get on the next call and you're like, oh shoot, another mad person's going to be on there. And they're actually a good lead, but you're already negative. So, or at least I was already negative. So, talking to the next one, I might just muddy the water with one that's actually a good lead because of my negative attitude. So I noticed when I let go of that piece and just let someone else answer my calls first, the first call, they would hear all the negativity from anyone who wasn't a good fit. And they would also talk to the ones who were. And since it wasn't like the same person that's answering all the calls, multiple people are answering the calls, then not one person is like this negative, I guess, attitude about the next one's going to be like the last one. Anyway, so it what it did was it put a buffer in the way to where when someone calls that's a bad fit, they just never even get to me. And when someone's a good fit, then they end up on my calendar to go meet with them. And now I've all of a sudden got higher quality leads to meet with. So I noticed that when any area of the business started having success, it became a full-time job. And when you have more than one full-time job, you start working 20 hours a day and you don't sleep. And so I started looking at, well, I'd find myself in a time trap, is what I called it. And I'd figure out how to get the time back by putting systems in place to remove myself. So that's why when I built the program for our House Buying Masters program, the way I lay it out is to avoid you ever getting in those traps, because we've already been there. I already know what you're going to experience, so we can put that system in place that solves it before you ever experience it. Sometimes people listen to me and they they do it that way from the beginning. And usually those are the ones that get the deals. And then there's other people who are like, well, I'll just do it whenever, I need it, whenever I actually feel the pain. And then they either never do it or they do it and later they get the results later. But it just seems like it works better to do it from day one. Just get rid of all the potential time sucking activities and set up in a way that's going to protect your time. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost the way I think about it is education gives you the ability to set that stuff up so that your time is spent thinking about more productive things, right? So if you start the wrong way, you're thinking about the problem about, hey, like you were saying, calls. You're thinking about, where the heck do I get money? Where do I create leads? Versus if you had that sort of framework in place, now you're thinking more about how do I negotiate with the seller and how do I get more money, which are two different, which is a highly, it gives you a better return on your time than just worrying about fixing the administrative things that, so as I said, I think there's value on a little bit of that pain to understand it and to value it. But yeah, a lot of us just have to go through it,
Yeah, I think the key is not to stay there too long to where it's like dragging you down. And like you mentioned, focus earlier, and the more things your mind is doing at the same time, like the more directions your head is going, the less effective you are at any one of those areas. So it really wears down on your overall performance. So so do you feel like what areas of your business or life do you feel like have improved by changing your patterns and really putting new systems in place so far?
Well,
Or business.
So I was talking to the group the other day. It's like, when you have a full-time job and when you're doing this full-time as well, pretty much, right? I mean, it's part-time, but it's pretty much the same. What I started realizing is that, you stop taking care of yourself, right? You stop exercising because every time you get a new deal, now it's like you're like completely focused, like as I would be to really finish it. So like if you don't have a spouse or anything like that to help you or anything like that, it's just you, then that starts, that area of your life starts being sacrificed, to be able to finish that deal and hopefully not lose any money in the process. So as I started, that's one of the things I have has improved is as I've delegated more, I'm able to set up different times where I'm not reachable, where I can still focus on that stuff of the business and the vision of the business versus just, as I said before, hey, I need to be at Home Depot at 6 to be able to pay for a bunch of material, or I need to be, at Lowe's at 7 to be able to pick up a 2x4 or a pipe for somebody.
Right? You're not going to Lowe's or Home Depot anymore, right? Or
no, not at all. So yeah, it's those kind of things, those kind of things that you start really being cautious about and really delegating, right? That like, hey, my focus is not go do that because it like go pick up the material because it moves the job faster. My job is how do I find a person that could help me with that I can get that off, right? So that's a shifted mindset there.
That thing you brought up there, I mean, as far as you working a full-time job as an engineer, I mean, you have a demanding career. It's like you're using your brain, I'm sure, like a high level, and then you're performing your tasks in your work. But for you working a full-time job, then on top of that, you're working your full-time real estate investing business. It's even more important for you to protect your time and the problem that comes up with not like effectively delegating, like just trying to do it all. It's even more of an impact on someone that's in that full-time role because now you're already working full-time. Now on top of that, you're inefficiently running a second full-time business that now is really putting you and your personal health and your personal well-being in a bad place. Because like if you're not working out, you're not eating right, you're not drinking enough water, you're not getting enough sleep, that can quickly diminish your health. It can diminish your performance and make you really less effective by far. And so like, me, I experienced a lot of that working in real estate full time, and it was hard enough. So I couldn't imagine, having that second level, that's even more impactful there. So, I mean, I can see how, putting the right systems in place are, it's super important for you to do that because you're working like double, you're twice as hard,
Yeah, 100%. So I've been working definitely diligently to kind of set that up and really like get more business and then have a little bit of framework so then I can, like, since the pandemic and stuff like that, I was able to work remote for my job. So pretty much I have a laptop in my car and I go everywhere and I can still do both. Well, obviously in the job, you know, I wasn't like doing like, oh, I'm gonna go above and beyond and stuff like that, just kind of meet expectations, right? And to be able to build that business so that you know, I feel comfortable that to like really leave that job and then you're good to go. And as far as feeling comfortable, it's not about just like just hey, just a lot of people tell you, hey, just take the plunge and go. It's kind of figuring out that, like, as what we've talked before, is figuring out that you have at least enough money to survive, but not only that, you have money for marketing, and not only that, how to do the marketing. Because without that, you don't. I mean, there's no food on the table. So that's where I came to chat as well. As I need, okay, I know I need that money, so I'm working towards that. Now I need to know how to market so that I fill in that last gap, so I can leave that. And now my job is just focusing on one thing and one thing only.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. Like sometimes like you invested in knowledge so you could make sure that when you do invest in marketing, you're doing it in a way that will work and that is proven to work. And like sometimes people think, well, it would be cheaper for me just to take my money and go straight to do the marketing and just figure it out myself. But a lot of times that could be the real expensive way to do it, right? I mean, I know we have an investor in our group who's doing really well now, but he prior to working with our program was he had invested about $40,000 in marketing and had no return. Like none of it worked. That's a lot of money to put on. He put it on credit cards, you know, so $40,000 on credit cards to have marketing in place that didn't even work. You know, that's rough.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Like, for example, I think back, you know, when I started, you know, it was a high ticket for education and stuff like that. But, you know, it's kind of one of those things where I wouldn't have known, like, I wouldn't have met certain people I've met, including you, met different coaches, different just high value individuals, not just generally in business, but just people that in that same direction. And then, you know, so it's a balance between, okay, education, but after education, you still need money for marketing. And then also when you get a flip or you get a construction, you still need money. So you need money for everything. But it's just kind of, as you go through the process, how do you allocate it so that it gets you to the next step, and then that money reinvested back to get you to the next step and go from there.
Yeah. So you know, why did you decide, I mean, in the beginning, why did you decide? And I remember, like, I was actually kind of cool because I saw you posting your vision board one time and you had our, you know, getting into our program. And you talked earlier about, like, you know, how we were talking at one time and that you had a flip going and maybe multiple deals going and your cash was all really tied up and you were not in a position to move your business forward at that time. And so at one point, I saw you had your vision board, you had it on there. So I thought, man, this guy's really, he's focused. He's got this goal. He's working toward to build this business, and I can be a part of helping him, which I thought was awesome. So, like, what was it that really made you decide to want to do business and work with me? Otherwise, I mean, because you mentioned earlier you've seen other programs, right, that were out there that might have been a solution, but.
Yeah. So that was kind of what I was alluding to before. Is I chose Chad specifically. I mean, one, obviously, because I know him and I know what kind of he's been through. You know, so there was less of that chance of like somebody just running away, right? Kind of more generally helping you. The other thing is there's people in the program that, you know, are kind of in that same mindset, either from fortune builders or other entrepreneurs trying to make it as well. Which that doesn't change from the other programs. Maybe the other programs have that same thing, but I just kind of knew more people, you know, there. So that it increased my comfort level, my credibility. And the other thing is, you know, I was really leaning to at first to, hey, I just need to get this marketing off my plate, especially because I'm in full-time job. So I'm like, if I can get that off my plate, I can be good. But then I started thinking, okay, well, what if I start getting a bunch of leads? I'm still in a job. How the heck am I going to meet them? You know, so I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense, you know? And then I invested a bunch of money and then not really being able to take on those leads. So not only it was about leads, but it was how do I take some stuff out so I do have time for those leads, even if it's just one, right? Even if it's just one, right? But it's time better spent because I know what I'm doing. I can set it up in the future. I can replicate it, and I have time for that lead to maximize it. So, you know, like Chad was maybe saying before, is a lot of the times you're just like, oh man, I want to move forward, but then you get into so many things. You get to so many things, and I know I was definitely that way, and I still kind of I'm being conscious of that all the time, is not to get into things that then you're just kind of overwhelmed and you're not really good at a lot of them. You're just semi good, to try to cut it back a little bit, and let's just go back to the basics. So as I said before, it has been incredibly helpful to go back to the basics and say, okay, if I would start it again, now that what I know now, how would I do it? And then start from there to make it more worthwhile, right? So now every dollar is spent in a different way. Now every single conversation is spent different. Versus before you just don't know. So you're just trying to just survive, or the best way possible,
Yeah, and I guess that kind of brings up too, like, as far as getting leads, I think earlier you mentioned that you could have just, hired someone else. They could have done all your marketing for you. And I don't know, maybe this is the thing. Like, I always feel like it's better in my business, and I think it's better for other people in their business to know how to fish versus getting a fish. Like, if you were to go, if I just said, okay, here's a lead, Julian, go out and close it. And maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you bought the lead. And then tomorrow you're like, hey, Chad, I need another lead. Well, wait, I gave you one yesterday. Well, I'm hungry again, right? It's like if I gave you a fish yesterday and you like ate it, and then tomorrow you're like, well, shit, I'm starving. What do I eat now? And, but versus we teach you how to fish or teach you how to do marketing, teach you how to fish. You can just go get all your fish you want and eat every day. And if you learn how to do your own marketing, then you're able to always have leads coming in. You always have deals. You don't have to worry about it. Like, if your marketing agency or advertising agency doesn't do good for you anymore, then you're not out of business, right? You can control it more. And
I always think about,
like, if someone else is giving you leads, sometimes they're selling you leads that are generic. Like, these people don't even know who you are. And a lot of times they don't even know why you're calling them. Like, they don't even realize they filled out a lead form, if they even did. So like, by marketing your own business, people actually know, hey, I like Julian. Julian is the person I want to work with. I like his story. He's been, we can tell he's real, out there doing deals and flipping houses. We know he's going to be someone who will close on it. He's not just saying he will. He shows us he will in his marketing. So by making your company actually famous versus just having a person who might want to sell that you get connected with, it's a little bit better, huh? Because they're warmed up to you instead of just like, maybe they want to sell.
Yeah, and the way I think about it, it's like, like the first checkpoint when you get into this journey is always like, how do I get to financial independence? When you get there, it's like your creative juices just start popping everywhere. Because now, since you don't have to worry about that, I guess, surviving, then you have control of your creative process, right? You can be picky. Do I go here? Do I go there? So same thing in marketing is, if I know how to fish, so you said that, I have control over the creative process. Who do I want? When do I want them? Stuff like that, versus just somebody else controlling that for me, right?
Yeah. So like, I don't know if you were ever on the fence about working with me or not, but like, if you were, or if you weren't, like, if someone else was thinking about potentially coming on board with our program and they're on the fence, what would you say to them that might, help them to make the move?
Well, the first thing I would say, that this is not a program where you're how would I say, it's not a program where kind of we're going to hold your hand type deal to get the things that you need to get done. This is a program to show you the ways that you can scale and you can do things better, but ultimately you're the one that needs to take action and need to be motivated to get them done. So that's what changes a little bit from hopefully the beginners is, you want a little bit more hand holding because you don't know what you're doing. Now here at this level is, you have a basic understanding of that. You've skinned your knees, you've gone through it. We're giving you the things, and now let's talk about bigger decisions you got to make. But at the end of the day, it's not like checking on you to say, hey, how, and yes, there is for sure, there's that, right? And we do that in our wheelie calls, but it's not at the end of the day, you have to be accountable that you took the decision to make action yourself. So, so that I feel like, and that's for Chad as in Chad's perspective as well. I feel that he's holding a program where there's that level of expectation already, versus like, I'm going to check on you every day to make sure that you did your homework. It's more like, hey, this is your business, this is your life. Let's get it going. I want to give you everything to make that happen. And we're going to have the network to do that, to ask questions and do that, but not check on you every day. So that I just kind of want to put that in the background. So it's good to know. And then as far as about the fence, right? A lot of us are always about on the fence about, the amount of money, right? Because that's always a thing, right? But when you start looking at a bunch of programs, right, it's always like when you hire a cheap contractor and they do a bad job for you, you're like, that feels so good, right? Paying cheap, right? And then I'm not saying necessarily that if you pay high that they're going to be good, right? So that's why you're doing like a vetting process now to figure out if Chad and the program and everything is good. But I would just say that what got me through the fence is the fact, and now I'm more convinced of it, is the fact that there is no substitute than going back to the basics, fixing the wrong habits, and surrounding yourself with people that will fuel that, which is very different than starting the other way, right? So.
Well, I appreciate that and filling us in on those things. And I think kind of what you were talking about was that we do pretty well at investors who have some baseline knowledge at, like, they got all the basics kind of covered, but they maybe aren't like perfect, but we can fine tune them. We're not really a lot of times starting in kindergarten. This is what a house is. This is what flipping is. This is what wholesaling means. Some of that we don't necessarily get so much into. We can if we need to. But like, we do really well at helping investors who already have experience and have some deals. I prefer to work with people like that. Now, I'm not saying we won't help a new investor. We have, and they've done well. We've had new investors come in who've never bought houses and gotten their first deal in 30 days, which is pretty cool. But I think that what you're getting at is that, we're not so much babysitting everyone. Like, we do expect them to be accountable, but we also give them the tools, and we remind. I mean, I don't know, you get probably reminded 3 or 4 different ways that we're having our weekly mastermind calls on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings. And we try to make sure that you're not going to miss it because you didn't get a notification. So we text you, we post it in the Facebook group, we post a reminder ahead of time, and maybe even thinking about starting emailing everyone before it, but I haven't done that yet. But that way, you have, like, there's no excuse. I mean, like, I'm not going to I may call, I may not, but I'm probably not going to call you and say, hey, Julian, how come you didn't make it last night? But we did text you and let you know about it. And we hope you're there. We want to see you there. We're not going to just like not have the call and just, not show up, but that type of thing. So.
Yeah. I would just say for people, it's like when I was thinking about it, I was trying to get really let's say I was trying to get really someone to be like one-on-one, but I started what I like, for example, just Chad and I, but I started realizing there's a huge value of like a smaller group of people that are doing the same thing. So you can see what they're doing, and that sparks different thoughts, right? So you're like, oh, wait a minute, this person's doing that. Why am I not doing it this way? And then as you have questions, then not only the group, but Chad can chime in and say, hey, why don't you, like, they can see the problem from the outside, but without you seeing it. So they're like, 100%, don't do that. Go here or adjust here. And then, I mean, really, that's all you need most of the time. Just a little tweak in your mindset or your approach, and it'll take you to that next step.
Yeah, like, I guess you're kind of talking a little bit about our mastermind calls too, and how they're not one-on-one specifically, but we do take some one-on-one time with everyone on the calls. Like, I mean, you've been on there. We've spent a half an hour on your stuff, and you get the one-on-one help, but you also get the other people in the community. We live stream that into our group, our private group, and then we also have other members on the call so we can all learn from each other. And they may think of a question, or you may think of a question they didn't think of, and they may think of a question you didn't think of, and that's something that you need to be asking next, but didn't have to, maybe you would have never thought to ask it. Now you've got the information already. And it's generally not a huge group either. I mean, sometimes there's 5 of us. I mean, I think the other night we might have had 3 on there, and sometimes there's maybe 10 or 12. I mean, depends on what's going on with everyone's lives, but and how they're busy. If they're really busy in their business, they don't need to come to the call. They got a bunch of deals going, right? So that kind of what
Yeah.
your experience has been there.
Yeah, because it's kind of one of those things, guys, that it's like you might be on a call and you're like, man, I need to learn that, right? Like, or like that's missing in my business. So then there's also value in like really taking action, right? And then absorb it and figure out if that made sense or not. And then you can't come to another call and you're like, wait a minute. So I did this, and then in that call you might see, hey, you know what? This guy's doing some Facebook videos. Those are really nice. Or what copy they put in, or they're doing YouTube videos, and you're like, wait a minute. So I'm going to table that to that's the next thing I'm going to do. And then keep going that way. So there's always a good thing of, and I've learned that from Chad and a lot of other people, is grab information and just take action. I mean, don't question it too much. If you're getting it from the right source, just take action and then come back and review and feedback and keep going,
Yeah, good stuff, man. So would you recommend others to work with us?
Yeah, 100%. As I said before, it's man, like especially for me, there's no value. Like I played drums professionally in college, and I played soccer for different teams. And it when you start getting on in life, and you take on different things, you forget that you just learn a lot of bad habits along the way, especially from other people that are not. Like if I'm working on my job, there's just a lot of bad influence. So just stay in your job. Just be mediocre, right? There's just subconscious messaging going in, right? And you always have to be very conscious on, hey, I need to go back. I might be doing this wrong. Like, now you're not right. I might be doing this wrong. Let's go back to the basics and really learn it properly to get you to the next level. Like, even if you just unlearn something that you did bad, just one thing, that might take you to the next level. That might be just the only thing. So yeah, guys, I definitely recommend it. Especially me, I'm not perfect. I'm still have a full-time job. I got deals going on, and hopefully, knock on wood here soon. I'm really forecasting to get on my job and start really, hopefully blowing up. So with the help of everybody, that's, I feel confident that'll happen. So kind of, I say the same thing to you is, I know every education is going to be high ticket, but the thing you got to ask yourself is not really the money or the ticket you're paying, is will you be committed to taking action, right? That's really what holds us back, right? Regardless of what happens, right? It's like, are you going to make time to the mastermind? Always, or most of the time, right? Are you going to really take that next step, right? That's what's really expensive, because that's what doesn't create the money to pay it back.
Someone invests in a program like ours and doesn't ever show up or doesn't even open the course, it's not going to help them. But then again, I think the question they should ask themselves is like, well, what's the return on the investment? If I'm able to invest in something that's going to help me get leads, and if I can just get one deal and a deal makes, I don't know, Julian, like what have you made on some of your deals? Have you had any that were pretty profitable yet? How have you done on some of them you've done in the past?
Yeah, when I first started, it was more like 40,000.
Okay.
And then they have gone to like 60 and 80. And then I think the most profitable has been like 120.
There you go.
Right now.
If I just helped you get one deal in your business, it'd be a good investment, right?
Yeah, it'd be a good investment. So the think about it that this way. This helped me think about it. Let's say if you want a boat, right? Now that we're in summer, right? I want a boat, and the boat costs $5,000. So then if you break down that math and you say, how many times am I going to use it a year, right? So let's say you use it 100 times, right? So the cost of that boat, it's, let's say 50, right? $50
per usage, right?
Per usage, right? So it's kind of the same thing that I've started analyzing every time I get into something is, okay, let's say this program costs that same $5,000, and I go 2 times a week for how much longer? If I just make one progress, or and make that action committed, and I'm committed, and obviously in real estate you make a lot more money, right?
You made 60, 40,000 when you got started, right?
So 100% in real estate, that's where that can happen, where you can invest relatively large but still pay it back very quickly. So it's not a matter of too much about the cost, like it is and is not. It's the cost and the credibility. If that part is taken care of, the next thing is almost, what's your own credibility of yourself? Are you going to take action?
Yeah, but then the return on the investment, like if you can invest in something that's going to be able to give you deals for the rest of your life, I mean, that's a pretty nice return right there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like for maybe for older people, it might be different. For me, I'm 30, so that is highly critical, right? Set up that framework. Even if I don't make that much money right now, but if I make that framework, I mean, money has the ability to compound over time in incredible ways, right? So it might be different at different ages, but that's where I'm focused at right now, right? Is just to be able to leave my job, focus on that, and then have that process.
So, and you mentioned earlier a little bit about, you thought, you know, kind of like, and I don't know how clear it was, but like, who do you feel like would be a good fit for coming into our program? Like,
So I think, let's see, what I can think of right now is somebody that they've marketed and they have not had a good experience marketing in the stuff that they're getting. That's one person. The next person is, hey, I need to surround myself with people that are doing it better than me, that can calibrate me, either calibrate me or help me grow to the next level. The next part is more personal, where it's people that are ready to take on their business and ready to take action. However, they got to take action, but take action. You know, so I think those are the three main branches that I can think of.
So the people, they need to be action takers, and then, but also they've probably tried some things and maybe they used to work, but they don't work anymore for them, or they're having some trouble getting deals. You know, and I talk to people, maybe you think this one too. What do you think about the ones who they might have used to get all their deals from real estate agents and wholesalers, and right now it's been tough to get them?
That is 100%. I mean, it's just such a competitive market that you're just that profile that you're talking about is like a person that just gets frustrated. It's like there's nothing around, like what the heck, you know. But then that person looks on Facebook and looks up, and then you see people like getting deals all the time, and you're like, how the heck? That doesn't make sense. It's not, you know, I have the ability to do so, but I just don't know how. The way I try and stuff, I just don't know how. So it's just that somebody that needs a little shift to do things different.
It's almost like they're looking in this like shielded area. They've got a lens on that only lets them see the properties that are on the market, and they can see anything else out there, and that's the only opportunity they know exists. But then once they realize there's another place you can look where you actually can find people who don't even have their properties on the market, and they can come find you, or there's a way you can get them to come to you, then they realize, well, there's a whole different world out there of real estate I didn't even know existed.
I think about it this way, right? If anybody has gone to bought a new car, and you're like, oh, I'm going to be the only one there, you know, with that car, you buy it and then you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing as the only thing you see is like real estate agent deals and stuff like that. You're like, oh, you can't see any deals.
Yeah.
But once you look that other direction, you start like, wait a minute, there's a lot of stuff going on, you know?
The thing that kind of didn't make sense to me about like buying all my houses from real estate agents was, well, like what other business does that? You know, like if you're going to open up a business and you're going to sell, you know, we sell houses, right? But we buy them first. So like if you're going to open up another business that maybe it sells, I don't know. I guess, well, to me, the one that kind of makes sense is like a pawn shop or another business that buys secondhand merchandise, right? Because or even a car dealership. Okay. So like if a car dealership wants to get more used cars to sell, well, they buy them directly from individuals who have them, or they trade for them with their dealership. And if a pawn shop was going to buy, some kind of secondhand merchandise that they could then resell for more, well, they're buying them directly from the person who owns it. So why are we as real estate investors making it so difficult where we go through someone else to get that thing that the person has that owns it, when we could just go directly to them? Because obviously middlemen, they make things more difficult. They make the communication more difficult. Sometimes they also make the price go up because there's other fees involved, and then they're advising that seller to hold out for a higher offer. Whereas just going directly, getting the property straight from the source, is the best way to do it,
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And a lot of us think sometimes like, man, it should be easier to just go straight to the source, right? Like just a bunch of leads, and then you just kind of go and they give you some, right?
Yeah. Well, now one more question before we kind of like wind it down. I know we've been on a while. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but like, why should someone listening right now take action?
Well, as I said before, if you're that kind of person that on those different profiles that we talked about, it is so critical to take action right now because one, the market's hot. So meaning if you find a deal right now, there's less of a possibility, or there is a better possibility of selling it at a good price. Two, there's never going to be a right time, right? You just either want to grow or want to grow, right? There's stuff, obviously there's challenges in everybody's life, and there are some situations that might stop you, yeah, but I mean, there's just no better time, right? I mean, I know materials are expensive and stuff like that, but the market's hot. Is a good time to get in, cash from that, and then just getting a network of people that are going to help you kind of navigate that as well, right? It's not like you're not alone, just kind of flopping around. You have a network of people that you can bounce ideas with, and then refine your systems to see what's wrong, and then take action from there. And you'll see that, like when you first started to drive a car, right? Everything was so crazy complex. It's like, how the heck do I do stick shift and stuff like that? But now it's like a no-brainer, right? So you need just somebody or a group of people to just say, hey, do it this way, and then it's going to make all the difference.
Yeah, thanks for sharing on that. Yeah, that was good stuff. So what do you have like for sellers? I mean, you're a real estate investor. You want to buy houses. Maybe if there's someone out there who has a house, they need to sell another investor who needs to get rid of it in your area, or sometimes people they buy them and they think they're going to rehab them, and they find out it's maybe not a good deal or something, or not a good they run out of money, or the project's not right for them or something like that. If they wanted to get a hold of you, what would be a piece of advice you could give them that would maybe help them out?
So you mean in order to to have a deal in this area, or
well, I guess, I mean, for you, I mean, probably a resource, somebody who might be a good fit for working with you as an investor, like another, maybe it's a seller, maybe it's another investor who needs to liquidate a property. It's a deal, projects that's not good for them. Like what sort of advice would you have for them?
Yeah, guys. So, I mean, you can obviously always find me on Facebook under my name and stuff like that. If you want to reach out to me,
Julian Montoya.
Yeah, it's just Julian Montoya. You'll see my picture up there. It's pretty clear. There's actually a lot of Julian Montoyas out there in the world, but I can go ahead and put the link in the chat as well, where you can find me and kind of send me a message. But I would say is I have a unique ability right now where I can help you. I can buy that property from you. I can, if you're stuck in it, I can help you finish it with my license, with my general contractor license. If you want to sell in this area, or you have a referral in this area, I can also refer that to somebody. Or I can find different people that want to invest in your property and things like that. So right now I'm working in Asheville, North Carolina. So in that Western North Carolina area. And then soon here, hopefully going to move into the sort of South Carolina, Spartanburg, Greenville area. So I'm going to be in those two areas. So if you guys have any, and I know that too, if you're a private lender, you have some money laying around in other areas of the country that are just incredibly expensive, and you want to make returns here in the East Coast, I'll be a resource to partner with you on that. And then also, if you're just buying houses in this area, or just buying a vacation house or an investment home and stuff like that, I can also guide you in that direction. And yeah, let's just let's be a resource for each other and just make some money, right? That's what it's all about.
So if there's another investor and they've made a bunch of money on a flip and they just don't know what to do with it, like you could probably put it to work for them.
Yeah, 100%. So right now, Yeah, right now, to be honest, is the, the construction market is so much right now that I'm getting a lot of construction projects and stuff like that, that investment homes as well come into the play. And then, referrals come into play, and like banks, like for example, I got contacted today for a bank had a foreclosure. They want to put bids on this house to renovate it all. So that's not necessarily an investment, but there's always way to make a lot of money for that. We could take that property from the bank. We could renovate it with the money very quickly and buy it. We could do a lot of different things. So I can be a resource here. And I have really clear communication, contracts, and the idea is to build a long-term relationship, right? So as I said, is
Maybe
let's do
maybe
that.
other investors too. Like sometimes there's someone who wants to be involved in real estate investing, but maybe they don't want to manage a rehab, or they don't know where to get their deal. But maybe if they could work with someone like you, that they could put their money in on the deal, and then they could be a part of it, and get into it in a way, but not have to do it all. Then that might be a good fit, huh?
Yeah, the other thing that might be a good fit is obviously I'm in Chad's program, and if you join Chad's program and everything like that, you might not know all the ins and outs and stuff like that, but you might have money and time to invest into the marketing. So you almost can create a separate market, knowing that I'm a resource in this market already, and then also you be a leeway for me to get into that other market as well. So we can help each other out in that way as you learn more and kind of scale up your stuff as well.
Awesome. Yeah. So maybe partnering on some deals, or JVs, or maybe wholesale to each other, or whatever it is, loan money. Yeah. It's the nice thing about real estate investing is the success builds upon success. So like, I mean, sometimes people come at business with a real scarcity mindset. Well, if Julian gets a deal, and that means I don't get a deal. Well, it's not really that way, because there's so many people, like 300 million people in the United States. And then, a lot of our markets, we have million plus people. Even if we don't, even 100,000 people plus, there's opportunity, and you only need 1 or 2 deals a month, or maybe you need more than that. But still, even if you'd get, 5 or 6 or 10 a month, still a drop in the bucket to all the real estate activity that's going on. So, but like,
Yeah,
so many different ways we can work together too, like where, maybe I made money on a deal and now I need to put my money to work. I let you use it on your deal. Now you got the money you need, and we're not like taking from each other. We're actually both giving to each other. And that's really cool part about it. Cause I mean, maybe I have a house I need to sell, that it's just, I found a deal. It's not the right fit for me, cause I don't focus on this part of town, or I don't have the experience to want to flip this caliber. Maybe it's too big of a project for me, or maybe it's like, I don't like to work with 2-bedroom houses and you do, things like that. Then there's always a way that, hey, I could get a deal and sell it to you, and you could buy a house, and now we're both making money,
Yeah, there's a very punctual example that I did relatively recent, is somebody that just getting into real estate. If they partner with somebody like me, for example, like our companies partner together, and we get hard money, and then you fund the rest of it, let's say, or we find the money somewhere else. What you do is that when we finish that property, when I finish it and you're somewhere else, you have a track record,
Oh, it's
which
true.
you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah.
So, and that's huge for getting money in the future. If you want to flip, you want to do anything else. So as Chad said, there's so much there. Yeah, it's a win-win situation regardless.
Yeah.
And the flow doesn't stop there. So
I know, like when I first got started, I learned from some investors who are more experienced than me, and then I ended up eventually even doing more business than they did. And it's kind of cool, because some people know more than you, and then it helps you get that boost you need to make it to the next level. And where you end up, and is, you never know. Like the sky's the limit with real estate investing. It could be tiny houses, or vacant lots, or it could be skyscrapers, and anything in between, right? Apartment buildings and single family homes and duplexes and all that, so a lot of different ways.
And you know what, when you first start, obviously everybody's like, oh, you want to be a millionaire and all this stuff. But when you start realizing, is like in business, when you start making money, and you start making, let's say, a good amount of money, I mean, you don't need all those millions. Like you could, so that's where people start, like, either keep going and going and going and going, or just kind of just do their thing. Because at the end of the day, like, we don't have to be all like crazy millionaires and stuff like that. You might get there for sure, but it's just a matter of having a system in place that just provides an awesome life, right? That doesn't have to be a million.
It's kind of almost better than $1 million in the bank, knowing you have
100%. Oh yeah.
cash flow every month coming in.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, well, awesome. And so if someone wants to find you online about maybe they want to buy, they want to sell their house, or they want to maybe loan you money or be involved in one of your deals or something, like, where would they look you up online?
Yeah. So one of the, I'll share here in the chat, my email address, my phone number, and then and there's just kind of my link, and just kind of my link for Facebook. That
What's
way.
your website though? What's your website, I guess, is the question. Like, your
Was the website? Yeah, my website.
Really like your seller site.
Yeah. So let's see. Hold on, give me 1 second. I'm just pulling up this information so we can. Yeah. So right now my site is AshevilleWeBuyHouses.com,
Mhm.
and I can put that here in the.
Yeah.
We can put that here in the chat.
Yep.
AshevilleWeBuyHouses.com. That's how you can get in touch with me. That's kind of the site that the sellers go into, and private lenders, investors go into. And you can reach me. You can reach me there. And I can also kind of put my this is my Facebook, kind of my Facebook profile, so you find it a little bit quicker. You can always send me a message there, and then we can start the conversation.
Awesome, cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on here, Julian, and I think we can stop the live, and then just everyone for watching. Thanks a lot for watching. Oh, by the way, next week I'm going to start doing these interviews on a weekly basis. I think I'm going to do them every Wednesday. So next week I'm interviewing a guy named Victor, and I can never pronounce his last name. I have to ask him. It's like Jurasek. I don't know how to say it, but it's anyway. He is someone who used to do cold calling for a guy named Chris Chico, and some of you probably know who. Do you know who Chris Chico is, Julian?
No.
Okay. Well, yeah, Chris Chico. He has some programs on virtual wholesaling and different things, run Facebook ads for real estate investors. He's a good guy to follow as well. But Victor used to actually work for him doing cold calling and finding deals. And now Victor he'll probably do 30 deals this year. I helped him a couple years ago. I've been really kind of doing some mentoring with him on different areas of his business, whether it comes to sales and raising money and things. And we're able to help him get a $5 million credit line established pretty quickly by turning him onto some of our money sources. And now he's got, I think before he was only, he's maybe doing a deal or two a month, and now he's got, 3 and 4 deals going a month, and maybe more than that at a time, but he's getting deals regularly. So we'll be interviewing him next Wednesday and talking to him a little bit more about what he's doing and how he helps other real estate investors get in the business, as well as the deals he does and flips. So that's what we're going to do next Wednesday at 5:00 Central Time. But Julian, if you want to hang on here, I'll stop the feed, and then we can chat a little bit more and get on onto our days.